All right, give me a few minutes. Okay. Oh, I wonder if it's going to let me do that. Okay. All right. Let me get started then. I'm going to record. Okay, perfect. All right. Welcome you guys to Toronet. We're going to jump right in and get started. Your tech career awaits, as we like to say. So what is Toronet? Who are we? We are a virtual platform that democratizes career resources in tech for college students. And our mission is to promote diversity in tech by providing resources, education, and coaching to diverse communities. We do this by providing a consistent virtual platform for tech leaders and professionals to educate our attendees remotely nationwide. And every Friday we meet at 12 noon Central Standard Time to learn from speakers, ask questions, and share career opportunities. And this week we are short on attendees because we are in spring break, but this is still great because we're going to make sure that we're actually streaming live to YouTube right now. So the recording will be available immediately after that, which is wonderful. So if you're rewatching this, definitely make sure that you're following us because we are going to change the meeting link. So the old links we're not using anymore. We want to make sure everybody's able to get in. All right, so here's some facts and figures. 1 to 5% of big tech employees are Black and only 15% are women. And so Toronet partners with educational institutions and nonprofits to lower barriers of access to opportunities and education for non-technical and technical careers in the tech industry. Again, that is technical and non-technical professionals. So we are here to spread the good news that you can have a non-technical career in a technical company if you just love being a part of innovation. All right, so we are sponsored by LeBeau Labs internship from LeBeau LLC and Advancing the Seed, which is a great nonprofit organization in La Habra, California. And just to let you know, we are always looking for speakers. Our speaker slot is full. So we're so super thankful for all of you who have become speakers. But we also are allowing 2 speakers per Toronet sometimes. So if you're still interested in speaking, definitely reach out to us. And you can always enroll by going to this link. Now we do, I'm going to get to the updates. We do have a new Toronet website. So, but you can also go to this link and it will redirect you to the right place. Here are some of the wonderful people behind Toronet who've availed themselves to making this happen. And let's get into what we're going to talk about today. So today we have a guest speaker, Ivan W. Hall. He's going to talk to us about a very important topic. We're going to go into a Q&A and talk about free resources, any updates we have, tech water cooler. And another segment is, Can I Ask You Something, where we get into a bit of a discussion. Then we talk about who's coming up next. We'll give you a chance to connect with us and then the conclusion. So who is Ivan W. Hall? Okay, am I still sharing? Okay.
No, you not at the moment.
Oh, it wasn't showing all the time? Oh my goodness, hold on 1 second.
Sorry, I was about to
Bentley, do not even laugh at me. I see Bentley laughing at me. Do not laugh at me.
No. I just laugh because I do it all the time.
Wow. Okay. First time for everything. All right. So who is Ivan W? You guys see it now, right?
Yeah.
Yes,
Yep.
yes.
All right, perfect. All right. Ivanhoe is an account executive for Gartner with numerous years of experience in the industry. He has been in many different roles involving leadership, entrepreneurship, and support. Ivan is currently focusing on supporting HR leaders as they propel their teams into the future. However, he didn't get his start at the executive level. He worked his way up the workforce, starting as a mailroom clerk to his current position. Wow. Ivan approaches his skills with different mindsets. As a leader, he focuses on solving complex situations while cultivating his skills. But as an entrepreneur, he continuously works on developing and maintaining creativity, flexibility in many different tasks. His passion has led him to work endlessly to his goal of making meaningful impacts. So he really worked his way up. So if anybody can tell you how to work your way up, it's going to be Ivan. So today, Ivan's going to be talking about presenting like a pro. So without further ado, Ivan, I'm going to make you co-host so you can share your screen and then go to you. So I'm going to stop mine, make you the co-host. There we go. And you should be able to share your screen. I'm going to go on mute.
Thanks. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for allowing me to present to all of you today. I'm very excited for this opportunity. Just want to check that you all can see my screen okay.
Yes, and hear you.
Perfect. Well, yes. So as Lino said, I entered the corporate workforce a little bit differently. I was in school. I had taken a break for some personal reasons, and I just wasn't sure if my previous career path in education was what I wanted to do. So I decided, let's get a temp job. Let's play in corporate America. Let's see maybe if this is an area I want to explore. And once I got in, I realized that corporate America really fit my skill sets. So I was a mailroom clerk as a temporary employee. I became a permanent employee. I became a team lead. I became a supervisor. I became a project manager, became an account manager. And then I left that company to come to my new company as an account executive and a diversity, equity, and inclusion advocate. So it's been a wild but fun ride over probably the last 10 years. So yes, if anyone needs tips on kind of how to get into an industry and work from there, I'm always available afterwards. I will share this deck as well that has my LinkedIn and my Instagram. I know it probably looks a little weird to have an Instagram link, but I'm going to go into that today when I talk about your professional presentation. So to start off, there's a quote that says, "The best way to guarantee a loss is to quit," and it's by Morgan Freeman, who is my favorite actor of all time. But this quote is really meaningful when it comes to minorities and marginalized communities in the tech community. You're going to run up against a lot of obstacles. And as you do that, you can get very discouraged sometimes. So this quote just reminds you that you have never lost as long as you keep going and keep trying, as long as you're presenting your best foot forward and you're making sure that you're presenting with authenticity, you're going to continue to pay dividends and you're going to get where you want to go. Now, we went over resumes last session. I did want to go over a few things because resumes and presenting professionally kind of go hand in hand together. So just some of the few things that I want to highlight here is ensure your profile on LinkedIn and your resume match. As working in the HR space, when we go to your LinkedIn and we see discrepancies between your resume, it leads to red flags that make us wonder. Sometimes it may be a simple oversight on your part, but it does put doubts into your future employer as to why they are not syncing up together. Another thing is to research the industry. So as Lino said, you can have a career both technical and non-technical in the tech industry, but even within the industry itself, it's broader. There are subcategories within it. So there are some that do technology research, like the organization I work for. There are companies that do technology products. There are companies that do technology innovations. Research those separate parts of the industry and make sure your resume syncs up with that part of the industry you're going to go into. And then as you start identifying companies, make sure you start researching those companies to ensure, A, how conservative or liberal is that company? That way you know how to start viewing your resume. Can you take a little bit more chances? Doesn't need to be super traditional. Also making sure that you are understanding the culture of that organization to ensure that you're highlighting things on your resume that naturally fit and sink in with where they are trying to take their business in the future. When it also comes to your resume, make it easily digestible in a really professional font and use bullets to keep it organized. It's going to naturally lead the eye in the way that you want the reader to take and digest the information. And then as you think about your skills, think about quality over quantity. So many times we see resumes where an employee or an applicant thinks it's appropriate to throw every skill on the paper to show how amazing they are. Which, granted, you've worked hard for your skills, right? You want to highlight them. But think about strategically what skills you want to highlight for which position. That way it makes the greatest impact. So, for example, if you're going into, let's say, a sales role in a technology company, you'd want to highlight some of your soft skills, communication, the ability to network, the ability to negotiate. Skills that pertain to marketing may not be applicable in this situation. You might want to remove those for the sake of this application in this resume. The next thing is make sure you highlight your achievements, not positions. So if you have a role and you've met quota or you've won an award or you helped on a big project that saved the organization either time or budget, highlight those highlights. For many of you coming out of a program at TCC, you may have academic highlights that you need to highlight in your educational section, just so that they understand that even though you may be newer to the workforce, you still have accomplishments that you've achieved and you know what success looks like. I also want to make sure that you all highlight your soft skills. This is an area where a lot of leaders lack. Many organizations promote high performers, which is wonderful. Obviously, you're good at what you do, but you may not have the soft skills that will propel you into further leadership. So ensure that things like your ability to communicate, your ability to work in a team, that you're able to highlight those in your resume as well. Another thing that I like to promote for people who are coming out of educational programs is you may have a lot of short-term jobs that you worked in between semesters. Make sure for those that when you put the dates that you use years and not months and years. It just kind of helps the continuity of your resume flow and just helps paint a better picture as you're moving forward. Let's see, make sure your resume and profile contain the correct keywords and skills. A lot of organizations use scanners when you fill out applications and submit resumes that go through and make sure you either hit qualifications or key terms. This is the best way to make sure you make it through those scanners and you don't get cut out of a process early before someone even views your resume. And then lastly is just to make sure that you're editing your resume each time for the position you're applying for. Every organization has a different culture. Every part of the industry has different standards. So you want to make sure that you're putting your best foot forward as you're sending these resumes out to get your next form of employment. So that's just a few resume tips I want to highlight on. I didn't want to go into it too deeply just because we did cover resumes in that session, but this kind of leads naturally into how you present professionally. So as you think about presenting yourself in the best light, let's now talk about kind of continuing education. So you're at UCC, you're going through a program. Some of you may go to a four-year university. Some of you may go into a trade program or certification program. But here are some other ways to just highlight your education as well as your promise on your resume and to employers. So the first one is to utilize your volunteer experience to beef up your abilities. If you're a little light on professional experience, especially corporate professional experience, use those volunteer moments to ensure that you are showing that you have a lot of depth as a person, as well as what your passions are that link up to the culture of the organization. Another one is if you're looking for ways to improve your skills, look for groups that are meeting that are going to give you exposure to the ability to beef yourself up. An example of that is going to be Toastmasters for public speaking. If you need other options, a great one is to get online and look for different groups that are meeting on different topics. For example, I belong to a group for multiple minority leaders. It's a way to get exposure to different leadership tactics that are benefiting people of color and marginalized communities, something that's important to me. You can find other groups that are going to sync up to what you believe are the soft skills that are going to make you most beneficial and most competitive in the workforce. Another easy one is utilize things like LinkedIn Learning, Coursera, and edX to upskill in particular areas. This is another great way to get some exposure for soft skills or other leadership skills. It also shows that you're dedicated and willing to put in a little extra work to ensure you have the skills to push the business needs of the organization further and to propel your career further. Again, it does cost a little bit of money to get certifications from Coursera and edX, and LinkedIn Learning is a subscription model, but the dividends it will pay off for you in your career, not only by having those certifications, but also just by upskilling yourself, are definitely going to outweigh the small cost that you're going to pay for those. And then being that you guys are at TCC, I would also look up opportunities on campus that allow you to gain practical leadership experience. There's all sorts of clubs and groups on campus that you can be a part of. It's even easier now that we're virtual. You know, you don't even have to leave your house. Everybody's doing things over Teams, Zoom, WebEx, etc. So go ahead and plug into those groups that you find you have a passion or a connection to. It also helps you present your authentic self in a way that lets employers know exactly who you are. So the next slide here on, presenting professionally. This is really important. You want to make sure that both online and in person, you're presenting in a way that puts you in the best light for your employer. So the first one is to ensure your social media is your brand. As I mentioned earlier, have my LinkedIn and my Instagram, and I do that for two reasons. First, my LinkedIn is my professional version of myself. It paints me in the best professional light possible. I ensure that on my LinkedIn, I have content not only for my employer, but personal content I've created to show exactly what I stand for as a professional, what I stand for as a leader, what I'm passionate about, and that I cultivate my leadership brand. My Instagram, I also use to cultivate my outside of Gartner presence professionally, but I also utilize it to highlight some of my passion projects so that an employer gets to see the human side of me as well. When you're making your online brand, especially via Instagram and Facebook, make sure it's consistent. Also make sure that you are taking into account posts that you're making that may not fit in with the image you want to make. So either delete those posts or make them private. I've seen a lot of people get knocked out of interview processes by having posts that don't fit in with the image that the company is trying to portray. So just something to keep in mind as you move forward. Also with that, don't be afraid to post your hobbies. Do not be afraid to let people into the more organic side of who you are. As we've moved into this virtual environment, all of the data shows that people are seeing a more human side of their employees, and now they're starting to focus on that more as they start developing their corporate culture. So it's a great way to show that, hey, I'm a human, I fit in with your culture, I'm more than just the skills on a page. And a lot of companies now are actually taking gambles on employees that might fit in more with their culture and lack some of the skills, because you can teach skills. You can't always teach someone to fit in with your corporate culture and to fit in with the teams that they're trying to create. Let's see, the next one is pay attention to the connections you have online and the activities of the pages you follow. It seems very unfair that you would be judged off of other people's postings and content in groups that you may be in, but people do pay attention. It's almost, at this point, with the very charged climate we live in between the racial issues across America, political issues across America, COVID-19, vaccines, will they, won't they? There's so much tension in the air. It's a lot of guilt by association right now. So pay attention to kind of the groups that you're in, making sure that you want to be connected to them. Sometimes you may have to take a step out of a group online. Facebook groups especially are kind of notorious for having some questionable content in there. So just kind of pay attention to that and make sure that also what you're connected to represents you in the best light. One as well that I want to really dig into is controversial topics. So for example, I'm a DEI advocate. So I post content about race relations, about demographics, about marginalized communities such as our veterans or people with disabilities. Those are very touchy topics, and I have to make sure that as I'm posting and as I'm commenting, I am presenting this information in the best light possible to ensure that I look like someone trying to further progress and not someone who's trying to perpetuate a problem. So it is okay to post on controversial topics. It's all about how you post it and what you're saying and what the messaging is, right? Make sure that it's productive and shows that you're not afraid of the tough conversation, but that you're not trying to perpetuate a problem. You're trying to be part of the solution. And then the last comment on this one is present in a way that's going to match the culture of the organization you wish to join. So, for example, if you look up the organization online and they are a suit and tie organization, try to match that when you go in. You'll be able to see online and even via LinkedIn profiles of people who work there, kind of, are they suit and tie, like really traditional navy suits, gray suits? Are they suit and tie with fun colors? And when you go in for your interview, match that energy. It's going to make you look like a part of their culture before you even get started. For example, the company that I work for with Gartner, I had to do multiple interviews, and I presented in 3 different ways to show the 3 different parts of their culture. So obviously, because I work with executives, I need to have executive presence. I wore a black power suit with blue highlights because blue is a power color. It also evokes emotions of trustworthiness. So it was a very purposeful outfit that I wore to show I have executive presence. This is how I present in a suit. I present well, I am comfortable. Gartner also has a very flexible internal clothing policy where it's more of the, as long as your clothing does not distract from the work and you look like a professional, we don't have any issues here. So it's not a very strict policy. So I presented in a way that showed me as a young professional that was forward thinking and that had a fashion sense, right? So I presented in a way that let them know culturally I was going to fit into the situation. And then I did a third display as well that showed the in-between, that business casual, just so that they knew in the event that we have a conference of some sort or a more lighthearted event like a dinner, that I'm able to present in a way that's still professional but functional, right? So I really looked into the organization and made sure that I showed them all 3 options and that I was a versatile fit into the organization's culture, and that did help me further secure the job. As I think about also presenting professionally, just some of the other things is make sure you understand your body type as you're clothing yourself. Make sure you understand your skin tone and colors that are going to complement and highlight you. Make sure you do some research on also what power colors are and then match those power colors to your skin tone and to your build. So for example, I am a large built African-American man of darker skin tone. Certain shades of greens and certain shades of yellows, although naturally greens and yellows provoke positive emotions, do not complement my skin tone. It gives me a slightly washed out appearance. Blues highlight my skin tones, as do purples, as do grays. I lean more towards that palette to give myself a more clean cut appearance. As of today, even though I'm dressed in more of a casual appearance, I'm still wearing blues that naturally highlight my appearance. For my ladies or gentlemen that have longer hair, think about the way in which you want to present that. Look at the, again, the culture of the organization. More conservative organizations, it would be better if you wore your hair up. It makes you present older and more professional. More liberal organizations prefer your hair down because it makes you look more approachable. All these kind of things matter as you think about presenting yourself professionally moving forward. My last tip that I would leave you with as you present yourself is going to be on the way you verbally present yourself, right? In a lot of spaces, especially in less diverse spaces, people of color and marginalized communities can be viewed with a certain predisposition that is not always fair, but it is the reality we work in. So I always urge everyone to work on the way that your public speaking presents itself, ensure that you're able to articulate yourself effectively, be comfortable with standing your ground while still showing that you are a team player. It takes practice. Again, that's why I encourage people to get into things like Toastmasters and other groups where you can practice these skills. But being able to articulate yourself effectively and show your worth to an organization is going to pay dividends in your future. With that, we're about halfway through, so I wanted to open it up to question and answer and start getting some good dialogue going with you all.
Wow, that was wonderful, Ivan. Thank you so much. First of all, I mean, that could be a course, honestly. You answer so many questions, like, especially from the standpoint of, how do I start when I don't have any experience? Like, you answer so many questions that people would have, and took it also to a level that people don't think about, the types of way they're wearing their hair, the colors that they're wearing, and things like that. If you have any questions, put them in the chat box and I'll read them off. I have a question while you're doing that. You mentioned something really great. Which type of connections this is the question, which types of connections would you recommend people delete? Because, for instance, you said people can go on your Facebook and they can see what types of groups you're a part of. How should you gauge that? You said to make sure you're not a part of certain groups that you probably forgotten that you are a part of. What's your advice on that?
Yeah, so I would definitely go through. I actually had to do this when I moved into this role. I was a part of several groups that shared memes, and they're memes. I didn't pay them any mind, but when I really paid attention to the content of some of the memes, they were a little crass. And I was like, I don't think this is going to fit in with the brand that I want to portray to the organization. I also was a part of several political groups as well. As it got closer to the election, those groups got very dicey. So I decided to back out of those as well. So it's just kind of looking at the content of the group, not necessarily the type of group. The content is really what drives whether I took a step back or I stayed in that particular group.
That is a good idea. I'm definitely going to take a note. And I wrote down many things. I'm going to take a notes from a lot of the things you said. Dr. T said, excellent point, Ivan. We can teach skills, but not necessarily how to fit in the company's culture. How do you recommend to students who have older, no longer use social media pages, i.e. MySpace, which contains content that future employees may not like?
So that is a great point. So I am 33. I had MySpace when I was 15, and the things I posted were rather angsty. So I would suggest you go through the protocols with those social media platforms to get them removed. I can tell you from having to have a Facebook page removed from my college years, it is painful. There are several steps. You have to authenticate yourself. You have to take a picture of yourself and a word. It's a whole process, but it is worth it to ensure that you get that kind of scrubbed as much as possible off of online. Also, if you end up having a problem, for example, like my MySpace, I could not get taken down. For some reason, the verification process, they were like, we can't verify it's you. I guess I look too different from 15 to 30. So what I then do to present differently is I go by Ivan W. Hall. That is my professional presentation. So if you can alter kind of a little bit of how you present as well, that can become your branding and forward presentation.
That is so true. Just for instance, there's so many things I have deleted, and even things that weren't necessarily bad, right? But just would be confusing moving forward professionally. Like I've deleted so much stuff. And then right now I'm an actress too. Most of the stuff that I've done, you don't see because I went and privated it. So you can't even see all of that stuff. And it's like last night I was trying to show one of my colleagues something a couple of videos, and I was like, oh, I gotta make this public and then hurry up and take it back down. And it was no bad content, but it's like different commercials and stuff. And it's just like silly stuff. And I just, we have to be aware of those things and walk a fine line. But that was awesome, Ivan. We're going to move on to the other sections, but thank you so much for presenting the information.
One thing I did want to mention real quick, I forgot about presenting professionally. A lot of organizations will want you to have work samples of things that you've done or curated. Continuously keep a running log of your achievements, and also keep various samples of your work that are scrubbed that you're able to share out. Usually get permission from your previous employer, or if it's academically from your professor, to ensure they're okay with you sharing it and to help you scrub it. But that's also something that you need to make sure you're presenting. You want to make sure that the work samples you're presenting present you in the best light. And if anyone needs help with those examples, please message me after. I keep a repository of mine. I probably have 30 of them ready just for any situation. So we can definitely help you with that as well.
Ivan, that could be a service. I mean, so many things you're talking about. You could start your whole little coaching, and people have done that. They've created like a coaching service around helping people to land jobs and things like that. That is some valuable stuff. Okay, I mean, that I hadn't even thought of that. That is wonderful. So this is so much value, guys. And Ivan has put his LinkedIn information there, but if you're watching the replay and you want to connect with Ivan, let us know and we will get you connected with him. But thank you so much for that information. It was like, whoo, like we weren't ready for that. That was really good, Ivan. So obviously he's like top level when it comes to hiring, and he knows what he's talking about. So moving on to some updates and news. The website is finished and I have secured Toronet.net. I am needing a bit of assistance with a technical issue. I know how to connect the domain, but the actual site, no one can see. And if my good friend, Dr. T, might help me, if he has any time at some point during this upcoming week, we could work on fixing that. But yes, so that's what the future website is going to be, Toronet.net. And I'm not going to show this commercial, but basically Activate Purpose is under advancing the C, the sponsor, right? So Activate Purpose is a competition where an existing business can learn how to pitch their business towards investors. And so it's going to be an educational event with prizes. We will have that website up and running soon. We're still securing speakers for that. So just be looking forward to that. Put it on your radar. So I want to talk about a few opportunities we have. We have a number of opportunities. This one is from Joshua Mundy. He says, pivot into a thriving career in data analytics. We have some amazing opportunities available once you complete the boot camp. Our client is looking to hire nothing but Black women. So this is information that he shared inside of one of my tech groups that he's a part of. And so I let him know that I'll be sharing this with you guys today. So screenshot this if you're interested. We have another one from Shara Rain. She says, I wanted to share this program for women looking to transition into the tech and software development space. Apprenti operates in many states. Through their program, you have a guaranteed job offer with a leading area company and free bootcamp training. Their website is apprenticareers.org. Right. So, and there is a link for that. And if anybody wants the link specifically to this, definitely let us know and I will shoot that to you. Here's a couple of free courses that are available right now from Udemy. You have free YouTube audience growth tutorial. Then you have from Course Coupon Club, 100% off Python game development, build 5 professional games, right? A couple of others is the Azure Developer Certificate. It is 100% off. And then we have HTML, CSS, and JavaScript certification course for beginners that is at Udemy. So take advantage of that. This is another opportunity from Jacqueline Zhang. Basically, it's a tech company there's a tech company that basically is looking for more voices to add. So this is really something good for a voice actor, but they're just looking for participants to add to their voice library. So it's for artificial intelligence. So if you're interested in that, let us know and we will get you connected to Jacqueline Zhang. You can also just screenshot this and we'll get you connected. Tanya Patterson, she's also in my group. She says, my tech team and I are hiring Java engineers, PeopleSoft engineers, QA leads, cybersecurity compliance roles, platform engineers, data governance, data science roles, and more. We have locally based hybrid and remote roles, depending on the position. We have something for everybody. Apply today. And this is at Foot Locker, right? Never thought of Foot Locker being a tech company, but pretty much everyone is right now. All right, so I have something for the tech water cooler. This is from an anonymous person, and she says, hi all, I need help on a hairy situation. I have a mentor who is a senior director in my firm, and she will be moving from the accounts side of the business to my practice in the senior director role. Lately, I've noticed that there seems to be a bunch of microaggressions aimed at me. She has shut me down in meetings or Teams messages where others are involved. She also seems to disagree with most things I say that are small things, but she will express it strongly in a strong way. How do I express to her how hurtful her actions are to me, given that she is someone I have always really admired and one of the few women leaders, the only one in my practice, in my company. So it sucks to be in this position. Any advice on how to communicate around microaggressions and to someone senior and a mentor to boot? Ivan, what do you think about that? This is something that goes on a lot in the tech world. What do you think?
Yeah, it's a very rough situation, especially when it's in a mentorship with someone who could ultimately control the trajectory of your career. I've been in a similar situation to this. A good starting point here is just to take the microaggression piece out and let's have a conversation with her and say, hey, I feel like, there might be a disconnect in our styles. I wanted to sit down to ensure that we are able to connect and that we're able to further the department's goals. I also would love to get input from you on my development. So kind of turn it around, let her see the value of having her as your mentor, and let's see if that starts to clear the air. If that does not work, then I would go to her with a particular instance where something she said or did was particularly hurtful to you and be like, hey, during this conversation, such and such happened. This made me feel X amount of way. I would like to talk about it and make sure we can resolve this issue. I don't want it to grow into a problem. So that's the first two ways of which you can kind of approach that situation. Go with the one that feels more natural to you. So for example, I am a more outgoing personality type, right? So I might go with option 2. Option 1 may though be the better fit for your personality. If at that point it is not resolved, unfortunately, that would be a situation where I would say it might be time to have an HR conversation. Mm-hmm. At this point in time, if she's giving microaggressions to you, she's probably doing it to other people. And you also want to think about, let's say you leave, right? Those microaggressions from her are going to continue. Mm-hmm. And it may be years before someone feels confident or comfortable enough to raise the concern. Yeah. And those are never easy conversations to have, but at this time in the culture and society we live in, they are necessary.
That is so true. And you can take what Ivan is saying to the bank because of his position. He knows exactly how to deal with that. And it's a common issue. I would say, Ivan, I wanted to ask a quick follow-up question to that. Yeah. Let's how does a person document this properly to present to HR? Like, what would they need to come with in order to make sure that something happens? Because sometimes what I've been reading is a lot of times people come to HR with these issues, but they aren't resolved. So what maybe it's something that they're not bringing or not doing right. What could someone do to make sure they come correctly?
Yeah, absolutely. So if it's via Teams or an IMing service, screenshot those IMs and then email them to your personal inbox. That way they don't get lost. Same thing with emails. If it's a microaggression in an email, forward yourself, respond to the email and forward yourself the full response. I say that because if you only forward yourself the microaggression, they can always paint the picture that your response was aggressive. So make sure you include the response with the email you forward over to yourself. If it's a conversation, follow up that conversation with an email. I know that feels a little assertive, but you want to make sure that whatever you discussed in that private office is documented on paper. That way, if a situation comes up, you have the documented proof of this is what happened.
Yep, that paper trail. I teach my team to create a paper trail. And I remember when I first started teaching them that, they really did not get it. They hate to do that. They hate to create documentation because it's more work for them to do. But I teach them that so they'll be ready for it moving forward into different spaces. I said, even if they don't have a process for you to create paper trail and documentation of all these communications, you create it for yourself so that you can cover your own self when situations like these occur. So I'm just teaching them that habit because I know, unfortunately, they'll encounter these types of issues. But thank you, Ivan. I think that really satisfied that question. So I have a question to the audience. Can I ask you something? Have you ever negotiated a promotion? If so, how did it go? Who's negotiated a promotion for themselves? Anyone?
I have.
Go ahead, Dr. T.
It's a bit weird in academia, though. It's a 1-year process to get what we call promotion and rank and tenure. So I was hired in as an associate professor of computer science. And then what you have to do, you have to show over 3 years, show your academic record of service, show your teaching, student evaluations, recommendations from colleagues, many, many different items to kind of make the case for it. And ultimately, to become a full professor, as I am, tenured, you had to have a PhD. You had to have your doctorate. Real funny story. I knew that I was going to finish my doctorate before they were going to the board was going to make the decision about promotion and rank and tenure to be professor. So I said, I'm going to apply right now. I don't have my doctorate yet. I'm going to have it in 4 months. So I tried to put my application in, and my supervisor told me, no, it doesn't work like that. You have to wait till you get your earned doctorate, then you can apply. So I was enthusiastic and early about doing it. I've never really been good at sort of making the case for myself, but to this excellent point that I even mentioned, I do keep track of all the items that I do. When I'm receiving an award, one tip that I have on LinkedIn, right before they even hand it to me, I'm typing in, I received this award today, right? So, so I'm not even forgetting about it because I'm posting it that same day. And so that's one tip that I had. But that's just one academic perspective on promotion and rank.
That was funny. Yeah, I have the same type of philosophy. I've never had to negotiate a promotion before, but I don't know. I'm an entrepreneur now, so now I have to negotiate raising prices, I guess. So here's what we have coming up. Save the date. We have Shuva coming up next, and screenshot that. What he's going to be talking about is securing promotions with high scoring evaluations. So that's kind of similar to what we were just talking about, because Shuva, he opened my mind to something I never knew, is that, when you come up for evaluations, you have to get a certain scoring in order to get a certain bonus. And he's going to talk about how to make sure you score high so that you can keep getting those bonuses consistently. So I think that's a really good topic to talk about. So that's going to come up next week. So here's the information if you want to get connected with all of those resources. I couldn't drop the links in the chat at the same time. Sorry about that. Find us and join our Facebook group if you haven't already. Follow us on social media at those @. And if you are new attending, I don't think we have any new attendees today because everybody's on spring break apparently. So many meetings got canceled, but of course I didn't want to cancel the Toronet meeting. But if you are a new attendee watching this, or you're watching this for the first time, let us know who you are and let us know what type of opportunities we can help you with. That's what we're all about. And I'm going to give, instead of giving a quote, I'm going to give a paragraph. I think I'm going to do that sometimes. So some of those quotes are, some of the quotes that I find, I mean, they're so well known. Like I want to use something that maybe people haven't heard before. This quote comes from Fred Smith Sr., somebody that I love to read from. He's been passed on like over a decade ago. But his book is Breakfast with Fred. Very, very powerful speaker and author. Use problems as a learning experience. When a close friend received a cancer diagnosis, he told me, "Fred, I have a new mentor, cancer. In my mind, I think of it as Professor C. There's a real wisdom in never losing the good of a bad experience. There is seldom, if ever, an experience that doesn't contain a nugget of good. And as we learn, we have the opportunity and responsibility to share with others what has been taught." So even thinking back to what that young, I don't know how old she is, but that lady who said she's having that problem with her senior director, there's even good in that, because I can definitely think back to toxic work environments, and I now use that as lessons to teach, right? So there's good in everything. Does anyone have any questions, comments, or anything before we close? Any announcements, any upcoming, anything, any resources, events? All right. Okay. Well, if that is it, thank you guys for watching. I'll make this this video available to y'all soon. You guys have a great weekend. Have a safe time. Thank you, Ivan, again. That was just like amazing. You are amazing.